May I request our moderator to kindly take this panel forward. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Rajat, how about we start with you, if you're okay?
Sure.
So Visa is at the intersection of technology and trust. Financial services are all about trust, and Visa pretty much powers the global money network. So how do you see deep tech innovations like quantum, AI, cryptography, transforming the backbone of global financial transactions?
Look, trust, hello?
Yeah.
I'll speak fast because the battery is about to go on this one. So it just shows, even in the world of quantum and generative AI, active resilience over here, like Visa. Great question. Look, trust is at the fundamental foundation of commerce. When two unknown parties are transacting, a buyer and a seller, it has to be based on trust and security. And one of the big risks as we go into the future is the same technology that allows us to reimagine commerce and medicine and agriculture, etc., is also available to the bad guys to do bad things. And so it's a race of us using technology to protect us as well as bring new capabilities to the forefront. For example, with quantum, it can do so many new things, but it will break RSA and ECC encryption, which is the backbone of secure transactions. And so you have to race ahead and say, what will post-quantum cryptography look like, and standards that will help bring in safety and trust in the future. But it is the very fundamental foundation.
Thank you. Praveenji, how is India's science and technology policy preparing for us to really take a leadership position in quantum, semiconductors? Would love to get your views, sir.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Just brief introduction, like I am Praveen Roy. I am head of Technology Translation and Innovation Wing in DST, Department of Science and Technology. And DST has been pioneer in supporting basic research, technology development, deployment, transfer, everything which we can think of. And extramural funding maximum is going from DST itself. And seeing the, I mean, if you see the roadmap, like what DST has focused is, there is a fund which has been established in DST, which is Research, Development and Innovation Fund. And it is going to focus totally on deep tech, which can be funded with maximum participation through private sector. And this shows also the vision of the government, like the fund size is of almost $12.5 billion in 5 years. That is very generous and aggressive funding which is coming from government, and equal funding is expected from private sector. So what is some sunrise sectors, 5 sectors have been identified, we'll talk about that. But because of this fund being positioned in DST, and all the academic setups, different researchers, professors who are doing research in technology domain are supported through DST. We expect like all which is required to do deep tech, support deep tech, and mobilize industrial support, industrial R&D support in this domain will be happening. So we expect this RDI fund, which has been established and is running and is going to be launched now in this year itself, will be helping in shaping the future deep tech roadmap in the country with private participation.
Thank you so much. Sharad, you know, healthcare is also not left untouched by deep tech. And from genomics to AI-led drug discovery, how do you see policy, regulation, and innovation aligning to really create breakthroughs in personalized medicine and a more globalized access for healthcare?
Thank you for that. So as you normally do when you come prepared for a panel discussion, you try and search for some data and facts and numbers. So I have some of them. Since our topic today is deep tech, I don't know how many of us genuinely believe that we have deep tech startups in this country. I asked this panel, and the general consensus was we are almost there, but I don't know how much really deep tech have we been able to reach. So I searched for definitions. A deep tech startup is science first, slow but world changing. A tech startup is market first, fast moving, scaling existing tech for growth. So if you apply that to the startups that you know of, the big stories that you've heard of, try and think of how many of them truly are deep tech and how many of them are tech which are building on what might have been deep tech a while ago. So that's one thing to ponder on. In the biopharmaceutical space, if you are a startup in anywhere in the world, things are very, very promising. And again, here is a data point that I got. Just a July 2025 study which says small biotech firms, and this is probably more US oriented, but still encouraging. Small biotech firms have a 70% share of global drug development pipeline today. So it is actually not big companies like mine with big labs which are owned by these big companies who are doing new drug discovery. These are actually either academic setups, a lot of them, or small biotechs, but they are able to get the funding. They are able to get the technology. They are attached to the big universities. They are the ones who are entering clinical trials. They are the ones who will get acquired very soon. And they are the ones who will bring the new therapies to the market. Policy is doing a great job, I think, in India after a very slow start now, and thanks to the efforts of DST and BIRAC. I don't think genuinely funding is an issue in the sense how much funding is available. But how patient is that funding? Will it stay for 10 years? Because that's the time drug discovery is going to take. And how much is the ecosystem ready to encourage and adopt the outcomes of these kinds of deep tech research? Are our regulatory systems, given that healthcare is very, very highly regulated, are they set up for startups or are they set up for big pharma and big companies? Our IP ecosystem, where a lot more needs to be done. I mean, I can have a whole session on IPR. But these are the questions to be considered, and all of them will end up having a pathway to policy. But yeah, I think that's where we are today.
Next question is for Pradip. So Pradip, deep tech breakthroughs are often accompanied or supported by hardware breakthroughs. Semiconductors, display, connectivity. What do you think are going to be the inflection points in the next few years as you think about the intersection of deep tech and hardware?
Yeah, so I think I will give a slightly different perspective to this. More than the technology, I think the adoption of the technology matters. That essentially means that where will that be used? The use cases are more important. I mean, if you look at it, a hardware platform like you mentioned, or all these technologies are like means to provide that use case. So based on the use case, the rest of the things follow. So for example, just to give some example from Samsung, we make mobile phones, and we realized that it's very inconvenient for people who are traveling or who are doing work to just have a small piece of display. So we came up with the folding phones which can automatically, do that. So these technologies are not that we are kind of thinking about that. We are thinking about the use case, and then whatever is necessary to build that is the next step. So it essentially means there are many challenges. When this tech, many things we have put into it, but when these are in the research, like the foundational research, we are talking about making it better. But in the present domain, when you translate this into a domain like mobile phones, there are additional challenges coming. Like how about the power? How about the privacy? How about the many other things that we will have to consider? So the product is also built based on those aspects and putting a price point in mind, of course. But fundamentally, all of this we are doing for two reasons. Number one, it should impact the user, and it should be a benefit for the user. Whether it is they are able to talk to a different people on live translation, create some new images that they can share, or various other things. These use cases are important. At the same time, this is also a means for us to deliver fundamentally many other things like healthcare mentioned by Sharad. So these are the things which are important. From India point of view, I think one of the biggest bottleneck we have is when we try to build a product like that, there are many layers, many stacks. We have been really very good in software and services and that area. I don't think anybody can beat us. But when we come little bit down, then we kind of struggle a bit, because all our talents are kind of going away, and maybe it's because of the industry over there, going outside of India and making things maybe outside. So I think our opportunity over here is if we can build some talent pool, maybe through the academics or through collaboration, and make that talent pool so that we can build that kind of technologies in India. I think that's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. Sanjeev, Microsoft is a phenomenal tech company. Cloud, AI, quantum are so core to the work you're doing. What do you think is going to be the next wave of enterprise adoption? Like, what tech is going to be the next big wave which enterprises are going to look forward to? Or if you want to deep dive into AI or quantum, in AI, what do you see really picking up a lot?
Yeah, so thanks. I think that's a great question. So as I start to think about the whole Gen AI land and the AI paradigm, right? The way Rajat also mentioned in his keynote that, hey, the whole thing is changing, the world is changing, and in a way with Gen AI coming in, the biggest thing that's happening, the way I look at it is that the OS itself, this is a new OS, literally. That's the new operating system that we need to think about. And 3 things that you talked about, cloud, AI, quantum is not yet there, but I am pretty sure the time frame that we are talking about, quantum will be there, right? So I think these 3 things are the operating system for us going forward within the next 10 years. So now, when I talk about this 10 years, especially as you mentioned AI, the way I am looking at adoption is in literally 3 waves of around roughly 3 years, okay? So first wave will be where AI starts to become from co-pilots to agents, to real agents wherein they actually start doing your job, right? So that's number 1. Today it's a place where it's an assistant, but it actually starts becoming agents. So that is happening in the first phase. The second phase that I'm looking at is where you have the agentic workflows at scale. Okay, right? Most of the things, all the things that we are talking about, A2A, MCP servers, these actually start becoming kind of prevalent across the board. The third phase is where I think where we as human beings will start to get used to this autonomy or whatever, right? Is the autonomous workflow is where we actually start become comfortable with that, right? I think that is very important, wherein today, even if we talk about autonomous workflows, there is always a thing in back of our mind that, hey, whether the answers will be right, whether whatever is there, do we do a double check? But maybe there will be a time wherein a lot of our workflows will start becoming that. So that's how I'm kind of looking at from a process point of view, things change. Business point of view, I'm pretty sure one of the things that I talked about was agents. We have talked about SaaS, we have talked about cloud as now agents as a service is the world that is going to happen, and that is very, very close. We have already started to see some of the springings of digital workers that have actually started coming in the market. So we will start to see proliferation of that. Primarily, those are the things that actually come through. But I think the biggest mind shift that as being an engineer, the biggest mind shift as engineers we have to go through is now that we don't write code anymore, right? Now data is the code. I think that is a very powerful thing that and Andrej Karpathy's talk, we have seen that recently came up about the evolution of software from software 1.0 to 2.0 to 3.0. I think a lot of us are still living in 1.0, whereas the world is now in 3.0. So I think that 2.0 piece where data is an important piece is something that we will have that generation going. So yeah, that's how I'm looking at the world shape up. Thank you.
So Gaurav, we always use the word ecosystem with startup. And BFI plays such an important role in supporting the ecosystem. What are your thoughts on how do we deepen so I think Pradip alluded to the fact, or even Sharad alluded that India could possibly be doing a lot more deep tech. People could be really choosing deep tech as a career. So any thoughts on how do we deepen the deep tech ecosystem in India?
Yes, I can quote by our example. So we are Blockchain for Impact. We are a philanthropic foundation that was founded during COVID times to help India. And at that time, we started with doing what everyone else was doing, like importing MedTech devices, bringing in ventilators, cylinders, genome sequencers and whatnot. And at that point of time, we realized that we are not Vishwa Guru. We are mostly Vishwa Grahak. So we are importing almost 90% of MedTech equipments into India. And the R&D cost that has to be borne inside India, there is no one to support it. The philanthropic foundations are mostly what we have seen, and we have seen across country now, that we can build centers, they can build infrastructure, but no one of them, there are few of them, but most of them are not willing to fund the risk capital that is needed for a deep tech startup. Because funding risk capital may or may not result in a tangible product later on. 90% of that money is going to be wasted. So where our founder's vision came into picture, and he said that what we will do, we'll invest in upstream, deep tech, science, and provide proof of concept. And that proof of concept can then be taken up by either the government or the big companies or the startups that are working in India to provide indigenous devices in India. The second thing we came across the problem is that most of us are working in silos. A same institute, a same product will be built in 3 different institutes across India, all in different TRL levels. So another thing we wanted to do was do collaborations amongst various institutes, startups, medical colleges, so they start talking to each other. They're talking to each other, they discuss things, and maybe the problem can be solved in a much faster way. The third thing that we are focusing on is the awareness. Like what we see that after 12th class, most of us are opting for either this place, IIT or AIMS. And most of our brains that are supposed to be of high IQ are spending 2 to 3 years in Kota just to memorize the things that are already present in the books. So if these type of brains can be motivated to come into research, spend their 2 years in research lab instead of a Kota classes, then what is we call can be a successful venture from a philanthropic side. So these 3 verticals we are focusing upon, and in the last verticals we are trying to go to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities and fund innovative programs in which the schools and colleges participate to actually know about deep tech and present something about it.
Thank you. Rajat, back to you. So when we think about financial services and fintech, innovation has to be balanced with responsibility. And often, regulators play a very important role in how fast can you roll out the new technology which you are thinking of. Any advice to startup founders and innovators in the room on how should, as technocrats, they think about partnering with regulators? And
look, I think regulators, academia, researchers and industry have to work more closely today than ever before in the history of mankind, because this technology that has now taken birth and is becoming smarter at a pace and speed that we have never seen. It is already at 2.5 years of age testing at an IQ of 140. It is an expert, a PhD level in math, science, physics. At the same time, is going to become smarter than us in a few years' time. That is already in line of sight. And never before has a lesser intelligent being managed a more intelligent being. So startups, fintech, medical tech, education tech, all of us have to create products with this enormously capable foundational platform that is responsible, ethical, fair, transparent, explainable. We manage drift. We are able to govern it. But we do need guardrails, and regulators play a very important role there to help us think through that. And one of the other challenges is that these technologies don't know borders of any country, right? So regulation also has to be global in mindset. And regulation also has to have sort of the openness that as things change, it will also evolve. I believe that within the next 10 years, we will see superintelligence. And so we have a short amount of time before we sort of lose control. And so everybody in these hallways, everybody in big companies, everybody in the hallways of government has to make this a priority and collaborate, bringing the best thinking from everywhere, including startups, and get ahead of this. And I think it is one of the more urgent things facing us right now.
Thank you. Praveenji, you mentioned about the $1 billion fund. It's a very, very encouraging initiative by DST. What are the other things which are required to bridge the gap between R&D labs and commercialization? And how else is DST helping?
Yeah, so as I said, like DST has been supporting various research, basically in academic setups, and for technology development also there are different programs. So we have technology development program which are very specific to some dedicated sector or maybe open domain also. What we have realized, like all the programs on file, it is said like it is complete, like some technology has developed, but that has not reached to anywhere. I mean, maybe it has not been taken by the industry, it has not been commercialized, or neither any startup has worked on it to take it to the market. So we have realized that, and there are some strategic changes which have been done in the program. And we said like academicians do the research, they do the technology development part, but they are not very oriented towards the industry requirements. And for that, this dialogue has to be there. Someone has to be there to mentor them, to support them, to initiate these dialogues with the industry. So when any PhD student, any researcher does any research, unless he is interacting with some industry, he is exposed to that industry and go and talk to them, what is their requirement, this research will be not in line with the requirement of the industry. And realizing that, we have now structured the technology development program in 2 parts. We think we can support them for 3 years for technology development part, and next 2 years for technology transfer and technology commercialization part. And this is, we are now trying to see like how it is going to impact, because of this RDI fund, different initiatives of the government, a lot of funding is there to support research in various domains. But we have to just think of the knowledge, the capacity which is required to be built in these researchers, so that they know what is the industry requirement and how the research can be aligned with them. And this program we are expecting like will be to some extent converting this technology development to technology transfer. We have also thought of, we also support a big program for startups. We have created incubators which are named as technology business incubators, and they are across various academic setups. All the premier institutes are having. This Center of Excellence, FITT, is also supported by DST as a Center of Excellence for supporting startups. And around 200 incubators are there across the country in different academic setups. And we also expect like once these technologies are there, the researcher might not be interested to take it further, and then some entrepreneur can pitch in and take it as a startup and go to the market. And for this, we are trying to build separately some entrepreneurs who can take various technology which are being developed. For this, we have entrepreneurial residence program. Through this, we are trying to motivate the students to go for entrepreneurship journey. And with this technologies which are being developed, they can just choose and try to build their business, and the incubators help them to build their business and go for the startup journey. So these are some changes we are expecting, like unless we are oriented towards the industry requirements and the research are dovetailed with their requirements, things will not be happening, though we have been doing it for quite some time and various programs are there. But that dialogue is very much important with the industry to understand their requirement and just make the research oriented towards their needs and go for the societal development.
Thank you. Sharad, I think there is a lot which other deep tech industries can learn from pharma because of the whole network of innovation which pharma uses to deliver novel drug breakthroughs and treatments. So, any tips on how can startup founders here think about creating these research networks, collaborations to move their ideas forward?
Thank you for that. So maybe two things I'd like to say. First, it's a little bit of a small advertisement that I'm doing. Maybe you guys know, you don't, but we have a long-running program in India called Innovation, Pfizer Innovation. We roll it out every year. We open it up to startups. We select them. We provide them with funding. We help incubate them anywhere from 1 year to 2 years. Just push them along a few TRL levels. Obviously, these are health and health tech startups. We'll be launching the next edition very, very soon, in about a month or so from now. So if anybody is interested, please look out for it. We are tying up with Startup India and DPIIT this time, so you'll see a lot of ads on their portal as well. So that's something that's available for you to apply to and be a part of. To your question, I think you had also we were discussing it when we were meeting, which is, and Rajat also made that point, innovation is no longer limited geographically. In fact, it's not limited to one lab, it's not limited to a few labs in a geography. It is very, very interconnected. The example that I can give you from my own company, we have one of our largest R&D centers at IIT Chennai Research Park. I think it's about now 350, 400 odd scientists, PhDs who work there. And when I asked them the question, out of ignorance, saying, okay, so what do we develop here? I couldn't get an answer that I could hold on to. So all I got was, we work in the area of oncolytics, we work in the area of drug device combinations, we work in the area of API research. Is there any product that's come out of this lab? The answer is no. So I said, why not? Well, because there is no one lab that develops anything end to end. This lab is a part of a network of 14 labs across the world. Some part of the process moves here, that is transmitted to another lab elsewhere in the world. More value is added there. Then it is split into 5 parts. Some pre-development work is happening somewhere, whereas a phase 1 clinical design is happening somewhere else. So the point really is, it is an interconnected world. As startups, the more you can interconnect with others like you, or academic institutions elsewhere, or people who are interested in that area, and be a part of a network of solutions, I think that's the way to go. For that to also happen, and since I'm going to route every answer to policy, because that's what I do, the key word for us in India is interoperability. What we do here, the mechanisms, the governing principles, the policy regulations, whether it is quality, whether it is intellectual property, whether it is clinical approval pathways, they have to be interoperable with the rest of the world. And I think that is one area where a lot more needs to be done. And if it can be done, then we can truly plug into this global machine which is collectively doing research and development. Otherwise, we will always have a standard that is different, and different standards are roadblocks. And that is where we struggle. So the more we can make our regulatory, IPR, quality frameworks interoperable with US FDA, WHO, GMP, those standards, the easier it will be for us to plug into the global innovation ecosystem.
Thank you so much. Pradip, I would say India has taken the leadership in services, but hardware, manufacturing are areas where we need to work on. Samsung comes from a very strong hardware heritage, device heritage. Are there any lessons we can take from Korea as we think about building the deep tech manufacturing hardware ecosystem in India?
So, I think not only hardware, but anything that needs time and patience is, I think, the key. Because mostly for us to build a capability of hardware in India, we need significant amount of manpower. We're also very patient. And by patient, what I mean is that, when software boom actually started, it's like everybody wanted their kids to go to and do software. So we have like a huge number of people who can program. Now things are changing, of course. Now AI, we have less number of people in AI because the fundamental maths and all that we kind of forgot. Hardware is another different beast. You need a big ecosystem as well. So everybody has tried. I think government has been trying for a very long time. There are many startups who have already tried. Even big companies, I think, have extended their hand in many areas. But this is a slightly larger problem for us to solve, especially from the mindshare point of view. Easy money is probably killing it a little bit. But if we want to see slightly long term, we are talking about 10 years, right? If we are able to build this expertise in-house, I don't know how, but probably somehow by doing some amount of motivation to the people to work in this space, maybe we will get a platform. But until that time, I think we will have to work like we have been doing in software, which is we have been starting from the services side and slowly moved up the value chain in the product development. Maybe that's what we should do initially, to learn things from some other countries and then go up. Probably that's the practical approach for the time being. And that's my 2 cents. It's not a very easy problem to solve immediately. But I think this probably makes more sense because more and more the technology is becoming very, very hardware intensive. So if we don't probably address some part of it, it may be difficult for us to even build some of the other technologies out of India. Of course, we can always collaborate all over the world and we can do things.
Sanjeev, we spoke about agentic AI and how will we move from software 1.2 to 3. What is stopping the rapid proliferation of agents which can transact? Would love to get your views.
Yeah, so this is a great question, I think, and very top of my mind. Primarily, if you look at, like we have been developing Copilot for the last 3 years, right? And if you look at and this is a learning that I have with working with the customers and having deployed across the board, I guess we have always been talking about, what customers need and how do you build for the customer. But I believe now, like, this is the time when you have to know it more deeply. Because what is happening is one size does not fit all, number one. Number two, a lot of times when we go to our customers, especially enterprise customers, there is a specific way of working that they do. And you adapting to that and how you can adapt to that is becoming a very big play today. Like, so either like recently I had one of the big ITES companies in India, we were having a discussion and it was like, hey, the challenge in India is that we have so many resumes come to me, okay? And we don't have a good way for me to sort it out. And this is a very, very practical problem, right? So, and can AI help me? Yes, AI can help you, but not in the way that you want it to be helped, right? So then there is this partnership that actually comes through, which helps things together. So I think those are the challenges wherein we are still there. It's a nuance. Slowly people are adapting to it. People are building it for themselves. There are even ITES companies who have started. This is like one of the services companies in India. They are actually giving an AI package which actually has agents built for you. So they are actually selling to customer agents built for you. So those are the small mushrooms that have actually started growing. I'm pretty sure in the next few years, we will just see this taking over across the board.
Thank you. Gaurav, I want to indulge in a little bit of future gazing with you. What do you think is a technology which we think is very far out, but is coming faster than everybody can possibly perceive it to, and which you think will become real and ubiquitous by 2035?
I'll tell from my experience from the medtech part. I think the genomics in the medtech is coming in a very big way. Just because genomics was always present there, but now the cost of doing that test is reducing drastically. And through that genomics, the next step is going to be precision medicine. Now, for example, now what we do is we go to a doctor, they take out our samples and they then have some parameters. So they do whatever is written in the books according to for the general population. But by precision medicine, we mean that the medicines and the treatment will be done according to your genetic makeup. And this reality is not far enough, and I think in 1 or 2 years, most of us will be having that genome sequencing done for our DNA, and then accordingly we will be living our lifestyles, we will be treating patients, we will be choosing options of how to take drugs, and everything will be controlled by that. This is actually going to be a very big thing in very near future.
Excellent. I've been told that we should wrap up, so we have 3-4 minutes. If there are any quick questions, just raise your hand. And anybody from the audience, any questions for the distinguished panelists? Yes, sir.
Hello, myself Dr. Omkar, and I'm also founder for Niloop Technologies. My question is for Shri Praveen Roy, sir. Hope I'm audible. As I am involved into building a technology from the scratch, we are developing an indigenous renewable energy technology called 𝗦𝗘𝗗𝗜𝗔. There has been one important thing that I have observed that is different from the academic research to the industrial-oriented research. The one important thing that academicians doesn't show interest is industrial optimization part. And industrial optimization is a bottleneck for any technology to get transferred. So I want Shri Praveen Roy, sir, to please help me understand how DST is figuring it out when it coming to the pampering the research from the institutions to the startups.
So the type of research that you are talking about, like as I told, like the fund which has been established and it is going to be operationalized in a couple of months only, and this has been already given, cabinet approval has already been received. It is not a notional fund size, like whatever amount is mentioned, it is physically transferred to the department. So $2.5 billion has been given to DST for operationalizing the fund. The thing is that you will be translating your research, the technology development part through different TRL levels. So every support will be linked to TRLs. So this fund will be operational after TRL 4. So once you achieve this TRL 4, the 50% of the funding of your project size. So you have to define a project in this. What is your project? What will be the target milestone? Where you are going to take it? It can get multiple round of fundings also, but you have to define a project like what you are trying to develop, which will be relevant for the industry. And then 50% can be given by this fund, and this will be through investors only. So we know like DST itself will not be doing the fund management part. So we'll rope in different investors, VCs, the AIFs, the FOFs, all will be there, NBFCs are there. So they will be funding this. It can be given as a equity also. If you are going for a startup, you have formed a company. If you are going for a technology development, technology translation part, which is relevant for the industry, then it will be a loan also, soft loan. And even the loan terms have been defined. This is zero interest, very low interest rate loan, which is to be given to the projects. So you have to define a project, what is your target, where you are going to take your research to, and how relevant it will be there for the industry. 50% of the project cost can be borne by this fund without any limits. So this fund managers will be taking care of the project, what is your fund requirement, whether it is justified, and 50% can be roped in through this government funding. It is expected that if it is relevant for the industry, 50% will be coming from the industry also. So that has to be seen. Either you generate it from yourself, or maybe the fund managers, the AIFs will be having that part of to be covered by them. But 50% certainly is assured for you if you define the project, the size of the budget which is required. And the best part is it has long gestation period. So 15 years is expected. Like when we talk of DeepTech, we know like, this will be long duration, long gestation period, research is going to happen. There are some sunrise sectors, 5 sectors have been identified where deep tech is there, AI is there, biotechnology is there, synthetic biology is there, energy, climate, all these are covered in 5 sectors. Apart from this, other strategic sectors can also be covered. So this gestation period is defined. Government has provisioned this fund of 1 lakh crore for 50 years. So just think, like 3 cycles of investments. After that, it has to be returned back to the government without any interest. So that is the approach that government has adopted to just match with the global standards. And this certainly is going to fund with long gestation period, 15 years you can go for the research, then only the returns can be expected. I mean, we wanted to cap it like it should not be low term loan financing. But then it was said like if deep tech is oriented to a low term funding, then it should also be supported. So we have not done any cap, but it can go at least 10 to 15 years of funding. So that is provision, and we expect like whatever is your domain, certainly we can have some kind of funding to you with infrastructure support also. Like that is also very much important, right? So gestation period plus the infra, both should be there. Then the funding should come from the government and private sector so that it can be supported.
Thank you so much, sir, for this detail.